This is the Crystal Clear podcast, and we are at episode 2. It's entitled Lila. I just finished watching the movie A Journey to the West, the tale of a monk who had to travel to India from the capital city of China, ancient China, uh, in search of some books that he wanted to bring back to China. So it's a tale of the monk Tripitaka. And in his journey to the West, he encountered an officer at an outpost just before the Gobi Desert. And he befriended this officer. The officer was the commander of an outpost, and he has been at that post for 7 years. In the movie, he admitted to Chikitaka that he has been suffering from manning the post. He was suffering from boredom, and he would often find refuge in sleep. So the only time he would do his job uh, to the best of his ability. And then when nighttime comes, he would engage in dreaming. And in doing so, he was dealing with his suffering condition. And this part of the movie made me do some uh, reflection on my own. And I also find myself at times uh, resorting to training as a way to entertain myself, especially after a long day at work. Um, I live alone, and most of the time I just have uh, myself uh, and my reflections to keep me company. And through the years, I have discovered the ability to use dreaming as a way of scanning my subconsciousness, thinking about events and even problems. So I would search for solutions from within the subconscious by not just looking at my dreams, but also with active dreaming. But that's another topic for another podcast. So I would often ask myself also, are the dreams real? Because while dreaming, it seemed to be so real to me. And then when I wake up, I will say, oh, it's just a dream. But I swear, while dreaming, it felt so real that sometimes I would ask myself, is the dream real? Is it even more real than my waking state? And this leads us to a story from the Janaka tales about this king who, after a long day at work, fell asleep. And then, in the middle of the night, the guards burst into his room and told the king, "We're being attacked by the rival kingdom. So, Your Majesty, we have to go and fight the enemy." So the king rushes out with his soldiers and did his best to fight off the invaders. But alas, his forces lost and he was captured by the rival king, who told him, "Since you are of noble birth, I will not kill you, but you are forbidden to step on these lands, the land that you used to call your home." So the king was exiled. And, after that defeat, humiliated, he had to forego everything. He had to leave the land. So he had to travel for several hundreds of kilometers to the next kingdom, to the next neutral territory. And he was hungry, but nobody wanted to help him. Well, because for one thing, he was a defeated king. And also, they were afraid of the new rulers. So the new ruler said that he will arrest anybody who would try to help the king in any way. So while traveling, he was depressed, he was tired, he was hungry and thirsty. But upon reaching the border, he went to a town wherein The refugees were being aided by the town people. They had food and they had water. So he quickly joined the line of refugees, uh, asking for food and water. But when it was time for him to get his share, the town people said, "Alas, we have run out of food. We have nothing to give you except for the dregs in the bottom of the pot." So the king said, "I will accept anything." So what they did was they gave the dregs of the food from the bottom of the pot and placed it in a bowl and gave it to the king. And as the king was about to partake of the bowl, a hawk came flying by and knocked the bowl from his hands. And the bowl went flying down into the dusty ground. The king jumped for the bowl, but he missed it. And the contents of the bowl spilled into the dust, and he could no longer eat it. So he started crying and cursing and asking the universe, why? Does this have to happen to me? And then, while he was experiencing all of this agony, he suddenly woke up. He was shouting in his dream, in his while asleep. And so the wife and the guards came to his room and said, "Oh, Lord, is there anything wrong?" So he said, "Oh," all he could say was, "Oh, is this real or is that real?" And he wouldn't stop saying the same words over and over again. He was asking himself, is this waking moment real or was the dream real? So he kept doing that, and word got out in the kingdom that the king was losing his mind. So doctors and ministers came and tried to tell the king, "This is real, Lord, this is real." But he just kept on saying, "Is this real or is that real?" So now enters a monk who was actually the teacher and spiritual advisor of the king. And he went to the king and said, "Oh king, how are you?" And the king said, asked him, "Is this real or is that real?" So the monk looked at him and said, "While you were dreaming, uh, while you were walking down the road looking for food and water, is the palace real? Uh, and you sitting on your throne, is that real?" And then he said, "No." Now, while you're awake, the same question, was the dream real? And the king said, "No." So the monk said, "Well, both are unreal. Both are unreal." And this episode is really about trying to answer that question. Are dreams real? What is real? The waking moment, the dream while we're having them, or the deep sleep that follows? So, which is real here? Now, the episode is entitled Lila because it comes from the Sanskrit word Rasalina, which is the Vedantic way of trying to explain reality. In a painting that I saw um, years ago from the inside the book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a painting of Vishnu with his, I think it was eight-armed form, and he was lying down the back of a giant snake. And the snake was in turn swimming in a sea of milk, which reminds me that perhaps it's a way of trying to depict the Milky Way. Now, Vishnu, this is the Mahavishnu form, and the Mahavishnu is asleep. And the story goes that all of the planets, all of the galaxies, all of the universes that make up this space and time reality are just parts of the body of Mahavishnu, or let's say the molecules that make up the body of Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu is asleep, and Vishnu is dreaming. And while he is dreaming, history unfolds. Okay? So this actually reminds me of another philosopher. His name is Bishop George Berkeley, who said that this reality is just the mind of God. So, what is Vishnu dreaming? He is dreaming about all of our experiences, all of our stories. He is having countless of dreams in the form of our lives, no? And the stories of all and every sentient being. So he is dreaming this reality for us, and we are just characters in this dream. So whatever I experience, it comes in a form of a dream for vision, and this is their way of explaining that reality is just a dream. And this is also what you call a Mayavadi philosophy, that it is the power of Maya or illusion that gives rise to this notion that there is such a separated, independent world that is composed of space and time and all of these material things. But according to this Rasa Lila theory, everything is just a dream. So, are the dreams real? Well, in the Janaka tale about the king, his teacher said the dream world is not real and the waking world is not real. But what is real here is that you are able to observe it. But the question really is you. Now, it wasn't part of the story, but I noted something that the spiritual teacher mentioned about three states of consciousness. I mean, three states of mind. The first is the waking stage or the waking state. The second is the dream state. And then he also talked about the state of dreamless sleep, wherein the sleep is so deep that there's no dream and there's no high. Now, from a Buddhist perspective, we can say that dreams are not real, although we sometimes use it as a way of understanding certain things, solving problems, or a form of entertainment. But they're not real in the sense that they're impermanent. They don't last. And you can also say that the waking state is also like a dream because what is the difference really? I remember the saying, Chuang Tzu dreamt that he was a butterfly and then he sat up and started thinking, am I Chuang Tzu dreaming that I dreamt that I was a butterfly? Or am I the butterfly dreaming that I'm Chuang Tzu? So is there really a difference between both states? Reality can now be recreated digitally. We can create a virtual reality of sorts and make it so real that we won't know the difference between the digital reality or this material reality that we're in right now. That's how our technology is. We're going to go to the state wherein we can actually recreate reality. But if that were true, if that is the case, then reality can just be digital signatures, digital inputs going into the mind. And then that raises another question, what is the mind? Okay, so the dream world is not real, the waking world is not real. But what is real is, because they're impermanent, but what is real is that when we're in the dreamless state, there is nothing. It is empty. All these states, by the way, is empty. But the dreamless state, if it's not real in the sense of space and time, form, and duality, at least it is honest because that's the way things are supposed to be. When everything is in harmony, when everything is at balance, everything is still. And that is the only reality that I've encountered so far in my search for what is truth and in my search for liberation. It is only in this state that we don't suffer. We don't suffer from delusion. We don't suffer from the pains that we get no, while living in the quote unquote real world or in the dream world because we can suffer in both worlds. Um, my dreams as of late has been sad dreams. I don't really know why, but my dreams have always been revealing and perhaps not. It is reflecting some kind of a sadness or loneliness in my heart. But that is it, no? That is my realization for now. I realized that dreams and the waking state are both unreal. Unreal in the sense that they don't last. And the only thing that will actually last if we know how to get into the state of emptiness, no, would be that dreamless state. Um, perhaps no. Um, perhaps that is the goal. I'm not really sure. Some people call it sunyata. Some people call it the vast. Some people call it the blue sky. But there's a reality deep within each and every one of us that is even more real than whatever it is that we're experiencing right now. And so that ends this podcast. The podcast is entitled Lila, and thank you for sharing your time with me. And I hope to see you guys for the next episode, which will come in a few days. So that's it. Goodbye for now, and take care.